One of the stories that moves me that I have actually made reference to probably half a dozen times in the last year or two was the day the woman was caught in adultery, was thrown at Jesus' feet. It moves me for a lot of reasons. It moves me especially because Jesus said he came to reveal the Father. So we've joked about it before. Why did he spit in the mud and wipe it in somebody's eyes and have them get healed? Because that's what the Father was doing. He only did what he saw his Father do. So here he is, a woman caught in adultery. He is now grabbed by religious leaders that have stones in their hand that are looking for the pleasure of killing her in judgment because of her sin. They throw her at Jesus' feet. And now Jesus is down with her on the ground with her. And he's writing in the sand. I've heard great sermons on what he wrote, but the Bible doesn't say. Whatever he wrote created such an atmosphere of grace that everyone bound by law had to leave. And he was left alone with this woman. Now, he is showing mercy to her. He didn't condone her sin. He never approved the sin. He didn't turn his face and forget that anything happened. It wasn't any of that stuff. Instead, he writes in the sand, every one of the stones in their hands, they drop the stones and they flee, and he's left alone with this woman. What is Jesus doing? He's revealing the Father. What is this moment? It's a father-daughter moment. See, Jesus himself in Isaiah is called the everlasting Father. I can tell you, as every dad in this room could say, if this were my moment and it were a daughter of mine in trouble like that, it wouldn't matter to me what the opinions of 1 million people around me were. It would not matter, because this moment is all that matters to me, is seeing restoration, father, daughter. That's a testimony of some of you in this room. And there are broken people around us that need to know what he's like. And that incredible story of that father-daughter moment is a package that you just open and you just show them, listen, he's a perfect father. He's better than you can possibly imagine. And this is the incredible assignment we have in life, is to reveal the Father, to do what Jesus gave us to do. The works of the Lord are studied by all who have pleasure in them. I've seen the ears open. A little girl who'd never heard anything in her life. We had a woman 40-some years old right over here. Had never heard in her life. Her ears opened. I ran over to talk to her to find out what happened, not realizing that when you've never heard in your life, you don't have any language. There's no ability to talk. She would point to the speakers in the ceiling. We've seen the ears open. We've seen the eyes open. I've been with Heidi when a guy is standing there that has nothing but white over his eyes. And then watch as Jesus restores his sight and his eyes to look and function as normal. We've seen these things happen. A friend of mine who was counted dead on arrival in the hospital had received a prophetic word over his life a couple weeks earlier. They were able to keep his heart beating through machines and such. And I went in and laid hands on him and just began to quote over him the prophetic word over his life. And I said, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. He's not there, but his body is. I said, you're going to be all right, because the word of the Lord is. And you declare that word. And they called me the next day. Said he's sitting up in bed. Brain waves were gone. Dead on arrival. No signs of life, except they kept him alive by machine. And the next day, he's sitting up in bed and he's fine. These are the works of the Lord. They're studied. They're studied. They're examined by all who have pleasure in them. As for me and my house, we have pleasure As I tell you often, this is Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. But my exhortation to you this day is get the stories down well, your personal story. Tell somebody, please. Tell them what he's done. And look for the humble, because they'll be ready for that same experience. Why don't you stand and let's wrap it up.